Rich Dad Poor Dad in Chinese, and I'm learning Chinese, but I know that you don't speak Chinese, so there's not much point to reading that one. But we do have a great book called The Art of Thinking Clearly. We're up to chapter 71 already. I cannot believe how fast this is going. Mladen is joining us on Zoom. There are lots of you also joining on BIGO Live. It is great to see you all, and thank you for joining. So I know that you all have goals to achieve, and most people that read in the morning or in the evening before bed are high achievers. So you are probably one of those. So we will get into it. But yes, reading has great benefits, and I love reading for you. So thank you for joining. Let's read chapter 71. Why it's never just a two-horse race. The alternative blindness is the subtitle. Here we go. You leaf through a brochure that gushes about the benefits of the university's MBA degree. Your gaze sweeps over photos of the ivy-covered campus and the ultra-modern sports facilities. Sprinkled throughout are images of smiling students from various ethnic backgrounds, with an emphasis on young women, young Chinese, and young Indian go-getters. On the last page, you come to an overview that illustrates the financial value of an MBA. The $100,000 fee is easily offset by the statistical extra income that graduates can earn when they retire. $400,000 after taxes. Who wouldn't want to be up $300,000? It's a no-brainer. Wrong, says the author. Such an argument hides not one but four fallacies. First, we have the swimmer's body illusion. MBA programs attract career-oriented people who will probably earn above average salaries at some stage of their careers, even without the extra qualification of an MBA. The second fallacy, an MBA takes 2 years. During this time, you can expect a loss of earnings, say $100,000. So in fact, the MBA costs $200,000, not $100,000. That amount is, if invested well, could easily exceed the additional income that the brochure promises. Depends on how many years out we extrapolate, but that's another story. Third, to estimate earnings that are more than 30 years away is idiotic. Who knows what will happen over the next 3 decades? Some of us don't survive 3 decades. Some of us end up changing careers before the 3 decades is out. There's lots of interesting things that can happen. Finally, other alternatives exist. You're now not stuck between do an MBA and don't do an MBA. Perhaps you can find a different program that costs significantly less and also represents a shot in the arm for your career. This fourth misconception interests me the most. Let's call it alternative blindness. We systematically forget to compare an existing offer with the next best alternative. Here's an example from the world of finance. Suppose you have a little money in your savings account and you ask your investment broker for advice. He proposes a bond that will earn you 5% interest. That's much better than the 1% you get with your savings account, he points out. Does it make sense to buy the bond? We don't know. It's wrong to consider just these two options. To assess your options properly, you would have to compare the bond with all other investment options and then select the best. This is how top investor Warren Buffett does things. Each deal we measure against the second best deal that is available at any given time, even if it means doing more of what we are already doing. However, I find that a little bit challenging because there are millions of different possibilities out there, and we can only look at so many. If you think about all of human knowledge, and we know this much, and then we can increase it to that much perhaps, but there is still all of this other stuff that we just don't know about. So I might be able to find 50 different investment types, and yet there are a million out there. I would not be able to fulfill my lifetime just examining all of them. And by that time, all of the opportunities have gone. So it's an interesting concept. We can only look for a small select group and pick from that and be satisfied with that. There's also an illusion that we spoke about in what the book spoke about, and I talk about it a lot myself, which is the paradox of too much choice. When we have too much choice, we're like deer in the headlights and we just can't decide. So find something that suits you, niche it down as much as possible so that you have an area that you feel comfortable with, and then look for the best alternative in that small sample rather than seeing if you can do everything all the time. In business, this is also very important. If you want to create a business that is everything to everybody, you're going to fail because you cannot get the message across to everybody that you have everything for them. But if you have something specific for a certain group of people, then you can pass that message across. They will be able to hear you, come to you, and look for your solution. So it's very, very interesting. Okay, unlike Warren Buffett, politicians often fall victim to alternative blindness. Let's say your city is planning to build a sports arena on a vacant plot of land. Supporters argue that such an arena would benefit the population much more than an empty lot, both emotionally and financially. But this comparison is wrong. They should pair the construction of the sports arena with all other ideas that become impossible due to its construction. For example, building a school, a performing arts center, a hospital, or an incinerator. They could also sell the land and invest the proceeds or reduce the city's debt. And you often overlook the alternatives, but there are too many alternatives. So I find this chapter a little bit challenging because there are so many alternatives to absolutely everything that we just have to take a small group and deal with that. But it's good to have a look at quite a few alternatives. Let's say your doctor discovers a tumor that will kill you in 5 years. He proposes a complicated operation, which, if successful, removes the tumor completely. However, this procedure is highly risky and a survival rate of just 50%. How do you decide? You weigh up your choices. Certain death in 5 years or a 50% chance of dying next week. Alternative blindness. Let's see what he says, because I actually already have an idea around this one. Perhaps there is a variant of the invasive surgery that your hospital doesn't offer, but a hospital across town does. This invasive surgery might not remove the tumor altogether, just slow its growth. But it's much safer and gives you an extra 10 years. And who knows, maybe during these 10 years, a more sophisticated therapy for eradicating tumors will be made available. Perhaps there is a natural, so this is often forgotten, perhaps there is a natural way of changing your diet. There are people who have diabetes, who either have a choice of an operation, medication for life, and very often we are not told about natural alternatives where you can change your diet in order to be able to remove the diabetes. And of course, for pharmaceutical companies, they would like to sell you their medication. And so they wouldn't necessarily want you to know about this change in diet. And they might want you to think that you cannot fix your diabetes. So these are very good examples of this alternative blindness. And very often, we don't have access to all the alternatives because there are just too many of them. So the bottom line, if you have trouble making a decision, remember that the choices are broader than no surgery or highly risky surgery. Forget about the rock and the hard place and open your eyes to the other, superior alternatives. So I will definitely agree with that. There are so many alternatives out there, and we blind ourselves very often looking for the best one when we don't even have access to all of the alternatives. So sometimes it is important to have a look at what am I missing? What is there that I don't know about? Sometimes it is a question of stop looking and actually choose something. There are different ways of approaching this, and we need to find what works best for us. So some people like the choice of medication because that's what they believe in, that's what they trust, that might work for them. Some people are not so inclined, and so they need to find a natural solution. So we don't need to pressure them into getting medication because that's our belief, not their belief. And our mind is so powerful when it comes to health, and it will allow us to heal based on our beliefs itself, not necessarily the method chosen. So I think that is also extremely important. There's a lot of interesting research around that in particular. So that was chapter 71. Hope you enjoyed that one. And then the next chapter is chapter 72, why we take aim at young guns, the social comparison bias. So I'm looking forward to reading that one to you tomorrow. If you would like to watch replays or other chapters of this reading, then you can go to my YouTube channel, and I'd love to see you there, love to see your comments and interact with you there, get to know you, because, yeah, I just talk to a computer screen, really. So interacting and getting in touch, and I'm going to, as I say that, not interacting with you, I'm going to actually start following a couple of people that have been commenting on here. So it is absolutely amazing that you joined. So I'm just going to quickly do that while I am still talking. So come and join me there. I would love to see you in YouTube and other places. And you can also get in touch with me and see what I'm up to and direct message me on Instagram. And there you'll find me as business_team_6_official. And feel free to come and join there and also interact, leave a comment, send me a direct message, ask me questions about chapters or other things that you'd like me to read, or finance, or all sorts of different things. I have a very broad list of interests. You can also join on Zoom, and I think that my VA actually publishes those in the social media. So if you go and have a look, you can also join the Zoom live, and you can also interact there, which is a great way of doing it as well. So wherever you'd like to come and join, it is always a pleasure. Thank you for joining today. I'm looking forward to reading again for you tomorrow. Have an amazing day. Go out and achieve some wonderful goals. We don't have to achieve the full goal, but every day taking a step closer will eventually get us to our goals. So have an amazing day. I'll see you tomorrow, and thank you again for joining.